Hello and welcome to The Cosmic Nomad. I'm your host, Bailey Rushlow, and this is a space for the curious and the heart-led, where we explore the human experience through travel, nature, spirituality, and real-life transformation through beautiful conversations. As I discover my way of living what I call an inspired life, I share the practices, stories, and perspectives that have helped guide me back to myself. In this episode, I'm breaking down how the nervous system actually works, why so many of us feel stuck in survival mode, and simple ways to come back to safety, softness, and self-regulation without shame. So welcome to today's episode of The Cosmic Nomad, episode 8. I'm so glad you're here. Please pull up a chair, go on a walk, get cozy, get comfy. I'm trying to switch up what I say every time and not make it the exact same thing. But I feel like I really just want you to join me in this moment and just be clear and be focused and ready to not only receive the words and the stories that I want to share, but also see where they will be applicable for you in your own life, because I am so not a master of this stuff. Like I don't consider myself a master of anything. I'm a student. I'm a teacher in many ways, yes, but I'm also always learning. I never have everything all figured out, and I love that. I hope I never have everything all figured out, because I think if I ever reach that point, I have missed the point entirely of what we're doing in this human experience of learning, growing, expanding, evolving. That's something that always frustrated me about being raised in religion, where you're given a book, you're given the scriptures, you're given a pastor, you're given a priest, you're given people who, you look up to, and they interpret God for you, and you're given all the answers. And anything that you question, it's just like, well, have faith that it exists, or like, don't question it at all, because that means that you're doubting. And I don't know, just I've done a full 180 from being back in the day of being like so hardcore religious and devoted in my faith, specifically Christianity, into now I'm so hardcore and devoted to my curiosity and to finding the answers in all the places I was taught not to look. And one of those places was my nervous system. And I already talked about this in episode 4, My Body is Not a Battleground, if you've heard that one. It's a beautiful episode about coming out of religious programming in regards to listening to cues from the body about how we're doing, how we're really feeling, and just this concept that you have to earn rest and you have to work really hard to prove your worth and to stay productive, because that's how you present your value to the world. Changing over the mindset from that into listening to your nervous system, seeing your body's cues and signals as messages, and living in a sensory way that makes you feel connected to your life. Like really, like you're not on autopilot. What does that even feel like? I had no idea, literally no idea. And I muted so much and so many of the messages that came from my body, and they manifested as physical symptoms like gut problems and thyroid problems and knee and low back chronic pain and fatigue and lack of sleep and dietary allergies and acne and debilitating period pain. And I look back and I don't just see a 20-year-old with health problems. I see a 20-year-old with a nervous system that is very dysregulated and has no idea what to do and is trying her absolute best to keep me safe. And if you had told me, oh, you should work on nervous system regulation, I would have been like, what? Like, I had no idea. And most of us don't, because we're not given any languaging around this, where we should be in schools, in churches, in higher education, should be teaching us this stuff. Of course, it's not, because if they were, we would be so powerful. And yeah, I think there's a lot of things in this world that don't want us to be so powerful. So this is a way to learn how to reclaim our sovereignty, our autonomy, and our the balance within our body by understanding your internal wiring. If you're listening to this episode, you have a nervous system. Surprise! And I'm going to take you through understanding the science of what it is, how it works in like really basic terms, nothing too crazy and sciencey, but it is also like really cool, and it is neuroscience, and it is hella fascinating, but also applicable ways that you can actually use these tools in your everyday life. And I literally promise you that you will start to see differences in the way that you flow in the world by incorporating some of these practices into your day-to-day life. So let's jump into it. I want to start by just having us take a deep breath together, because I don't even know if I've taken a deep breath today. So let's just take a moment. So inhale deeply with me, kind of hold it at the top of the breath, and then exhale slowly like you're blowing out through a straw. Okay, here we go. I feel like you never used to see information about the nervous system, especially on social media. It is now one of the most talked about things that I see personally on my pages. Of course, shows you who I'm following. A lot of people in the mental health and neurodivergent and wellness space that are focused on physical things that can actually really impact us and make our lives better. And I think it's important to understand that the nervous system is the internal communication network of your body. It's what tells you when you are safe, when you are in danger, even if that danger is just a stressful email or a hard conversation. Or literally a few days ago, I almost stepped out in front of a car and I caught myself very quickly and the car passed, but I felt my entire nervous system in my body light up like a Christmas tree with adrenaline, like keeping me safe and keeping me protected. And I'm so grateful for that. And the fact that I've become so aware of my body means that I could recognize how that felt inside of me, which was lit up like a Christmas tree. It might be different for you. With how you feel in your body. Maybe you can come up with your own phrasing, your own words around it. And whatever that feels like to you, it is called the sympathetic nervous system. And it's important to know that your nervous system does not speak in logic. It speaks in sensation and associations. So even when something small happens, like someone texts you, "We need to talk." I hate that one. You wake up to a ton of notifications. Your partner gets quiet for no reason, and you're trying to figure out what is happening, and your mind is running rampant with all of these scenarios, okay? Your credit card declines at the store. That just happened to me. And your body doesn't say, "Oh, everything is fine. We can fix this easily." Instead, your body says, "I have been here before. I have felt this before, and it did not end well." And boom, nervous system activated. And your nervous system remembers everything, especially the things that you didn't feel safe enough to process at the time, like those early memories or experiences you might have of not being heard or seen. Maybe you were punished for expressing emotion. All of these shape how your body responds now. And it's not always a bad thing. You know, this system protects us. The problem is most of us live in this survival mode all the time. Not just during traumatic experiences, but we wake up with coffee and we force ourselves into motion. We medicate ourselves to just go to sleep at night. We skip meals. We scroll constantly. We rush everywhere. And we call it normal. It's not just about trauma and triggers. It's about the way our modern world keeps pulling us out of our bodies. I'm not expecting you to listen to this and be like, oh, now I have a regulated nervous system. Like, this is not about just being calm. This is about learning how to live in a body that feels safe enough to be present. We're just not present. And we live in a fast-paced world full of distractions, full of people screaming into this void that we call social media of over 90 million posts a day. We live in a world that values productivity over stillness, presence, deep conversations, eye contact, physical touch, connecting with nature, sitting next to a tree, being at a cafe without your phone, listening to the waves of the ocean, memorizing the songs of the birds that live around you. We would have been living like this for a long time. And in today's day and age, we have the capacity to be so connected to ourselves. And yet it is one of the hardest things for us to do, to actually feel that presence and that peace in our body. And a lot of times we are so conditioned to fast-paced things that stillness, silence, presence actually feels boring to our bodies because we are literally addicted to chaos. When you are living in survival mode, you are rushing, pleasing, fixing, overthinking. Your body gets used to that buzz. It feels normal. It feels safe, right? So when things calm down, it can be like, wait, where's the adrenaline? Where's the drama? Where's the urgency? Peace isn't boring. It's just so unfamiliar. Because peace also doesn't perform for you. Like, okay, chaos demands your attention, right? It pulls you in. It gives you something to solve. It gives you something to control. It's like, oh my God, I'm doing my hands like all over the room. But peace, it doesn't have to be exciting, to be nourishing. And for people who equate their value with productivity, peace and stillness can even feel really threatening. Also because we're taught that love has to hurt. So many of us have been force-fed through Hollywood and Disney and just our own relationships that love is equated with longing and unpredictability. And when love or life feels safe or consistent or warm, it can feel really dull at first because we don't recognize it as love, because love is intense and passionate and wild. And I told one of my good friends back home in Nashville about my relationship. And he listened to me talk about it and he's like, is there passion? I was like, what? What do you mean? He goes, well, it just sounds like there's a lot of peace. I was like, yeah, there's a lot of peace and there's a lot of passion, but there's no chaos. And in his world, chaos meant, love and passion and infatuation and this push-pull dynamic. And to me, that's what love used to feel like too. But being in a secure relationship for the first time literally helped me rewire what I thought love was, what I felt love was, what I experienced love to be. And I will never go back to chaos because I know what this feels like now. And I know the presence that this requires of me and the depth to which I can fully be myself. And I don't know why I would ever trade that for a push and pull, chaotic dynamic. No, thank you. Because that safety and that ease that I've been able to cultivate is actually the most magnetic thing that I have ever felt. And, I think another reason why we oftentimes stay away from feeling regulated is because when we slow down, things get really quiet, and quiet makes space. And within that space, emotions that we have ignored start to surface. And it might feel boring, but it might really just be because we are not used to being with ourselves without distraction. So you may have heard of fight or flight, but there are actually 4 common stress responses when your nervous system senses a threat. So the first one is fight. Something happens, okay, and your response from your body is to get angry, defensive, controlling. You want to do something about the threat. It's very action-oriented. The next one is flight, where you feel anxious when something has happened, panicked, overreactive. You may try to run or fly from the discomfort, physically or even emotionally. The third one is freeze, where you literally freeze. You shut down. You might feel even paralyzed and like your body hits pause. Very deer in the headlights kind of moment. And the final one is fawn. And this is when you people please, basically self-abandon, and appease others to avoid conflict or feel safe. This might mean that you say yes when you mean no, just to keep the peace. So we can also vary in our nervous system responses. We don't just have one that we always do. I mean, you might, but typically we have a few that we kind of alternate between based on the moment, based on the intensity of what we're experiencing as well. You might even start with one and then move into another one. This also is not bad. This is not a bad thing. This is your body doing its job. The problem with it is when we live in that state all the time. So when the nervous system kind of says to us, we're not safe, let's take control. And this can look like so many things. I have a few examples that I've written up of when you feel the need to fight. So this could be snapping at your partner over small things and then feeling shame about it later, being hypocritical at work, controlling the plans or the schedule, because if you don't, everything will fall apart. So it has to be perfect, and it's a very aggressive way of control, right? Arguing to prove your point, even though it drains you, pushing through exhaustion or illness just to feel accomplished, getting frustrated with your body when it needs rest or food. I used to live in this state a lot, and I didn't even know it was a certain state. I just thought it was me. I thought it was my normal. I thought this is how I am. And I had no idea that I was actually living in a place of dysregulation. My second favorite way of being was in flight. This is when the nervous system says, this is too much and I'm going to go. So that could look like keeping your calendar so full that you don't have to feel what's underneath the surface. Jumping from project to project to project, but never actually finishing anything. Scrolling endlessly, feeling anxious the second that things just slow down. Overworking, avoiding conflict by physically leaving or even ghosting people. Whew, I feel called out. Definitely for keeping your calendar so full that you don't know what's underneath the surface. You don't have to feel it. You don't have to examine it and sit with it and move through it and all that stuff. It's just so much easier to push it away. We tell ourselves that. It's actually not. We're causing way more pain for ourselves in the future by doing that. Third favorite, freeze. This is when the nervous system says, it is not safe to act, so I need to shut down. This is seen when we space out mid-conversation, forgetting what you're doing, and not just common like brain fog and that kind of thing, but like actually disassociating, not responding to texts or emails for days or weeks, procrastinating just simple tasks, laying awake in bed, frozen in anxiety, even though you're exhausted, wanting to change something, but feeling too paralyzed to start, avoiding social events, even when you're lonely. It's just such an awful stage to be in because you really do feel frozen, just paralyzed. Like, I have no idea what I need. I have no idea what will be good for me, you know? And then the final one, fawning. A lot of women specifically struggle with this one. The nervous system says keep the peace at all costs. I know men that struggle with this as well, but I think as a whole, women are taught to be incredibly agreeable and kind, and we make ourselves perform even when we're burnt out. And we, let's see, some examples would be feeling guilty for having needs or emotions or boundaries, apologizing for everything, even just existing. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. God, I used to do that all the time. I would annoy myself now if I was still doing that. I really had to work on that one. That was a big one. Being overly agreeable at work or in relationships just to keep ourselves feeling safe. Constantly checking in on others even when you are running on empty. I could go on. The common theme through all of these is overriding your body's signals to survive, ignoring hunger, pushing through your exhaustion, pretending that you're okay, shrinking yourself to be digestible, abandoning your own needs just to keep the peace. And I think the more that we recognize these patterns, the more we can meet them with compassion. It's not about judgment. It's not about looking at these and going, oh my God, this one and this one and this one, I am a terrible person. I'm not saying that. Please don't project that on yourself. But with compassion, this is how we slowly and gently learn how to come home to ourselves, which is a theme through this podcast, right? So let's take another deep breath, and then we're going to move through how do we regulate when we're in these spaces? Because we have all been there. There's not a person probably alive on this planet that has not been dysregulated at some point in their life. And also, dysregulation is something to be grateful for. And here's why. Let's take a deep breath first, actually. Okay, ready? In and breathe out slowly. Awesome. We can actually be grateful for dysregulation because it teaches us contrast. Without ever knowing what survival mode feels like, the overgiving and the burnout and the shutdown and the anxiety, we wouldn't recognize what safety and slowness feel like when they actually arrive. If that was just normal to us all the time, I don't know if it would be as significant or as special or as feel like such a reward for the hard work that we've put in feeling dysregulated for so long, because the contrast creates clarity. Your body remembers the tension so that it can recognize the peace. Your heart remembers the chaos so that it knows when love is truly safe. Your nervous system is never broken beyond repair. It is brilliant. It is learning. It's been trying to protect you your entire life. And now, with awareness, you get to co-create the way forward. I also will say that feeling safe and feeling regulation in your body does not always feel calm and perfect at first. Sometimes it feels really weird, really unfamiliar, and even boring. And that is because our baseline has been tension and hypervigilance and nervous system collapse, and neutrality and or peace may feel like nothing. Like There's nothing. I'm bored, right? And that's typically because so many of us have never felt safety in our bodies. Or if we have, it's just been in short spurts and then the chaos has returned and the body remembers that too. So your nervous system is not separate from your life. It is your life. It is the filter through which you experience everything: your relationships, your rest, your creativity, your love, your grief, all of it. So building a life that supports it is not just a step in the healing journey. Like, it is revolutionary, okay? Like, game changer. We're going to move on to what the state of the body is like when it is in a regulated place, when you feel peace and calm in the body. It's called the parasympathetic nervous system. So we learned about the sympathetic nervous system. And before we get into the parasympathetic, I want to run through with you this science of what exactly is happening in the body when it becomes triggered or activated. So the rundown is: 1, you perceive a threat. It could be, like for me the other day, someone was walking really fast up behind me. He was trying to just pass me, but it sent my nervous system into quickly feeling very flooded and anxious. And I whipped my body around to look at him because I didn't know who it was. I didn't know what it was. It was just a guy running. But it triggered everything in me that there is something wrong, there is something unsafe, and I am in danger. Okay? And I'm so grateful that my body is so quick to respond, even though it really takes a second to come back from feeling like there's something unsafe about my environment, right? It's not a very pleasant feeling. However, it is my body doing her absolute best. So what happens when I sensed that someone was behind me is my amygdala, which is a part of my brain that's like the body's alarm system, gets triggered. Something's wrong, right? Which tells your hypothalamus, which is the tiny part of your brain telling your automatic nervous system to take action. And this is the part of you that is controlling your heartbeat, your heart rate, your breathing, your digestion. Automatic nervous system is doing all the things that you don't actively do. They just happen for you, like breathing. You're not thinking about breathing, you're just breathing, right? This is what kicks on your sympathetic nervous system. And this is, again, the fight or flight, etc., that releases hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. And this is when you feel your heart rate speed up and your pupils dilate, your breath gets shallow because your body thinks it needs to survive in this moment. So once this guy ran past me, I could take a deep breath. Safety was restored in my body, and my parasympathetic nervous system can turn back on, and I can regulate, and my body slows down, the system comes back online, and this is when you start to feel safe and grounded and calm again. This is so cool. I love this stuff. We know what dysregulation looks like. Now let's talk about what we can do. How do we shift into regulation? How do we come home to safety? I just want to remind you that you do not have to fix your nervous system. You don't have to do anything perfectly. Your body already knows exactly what to do. She knows how to come back to safety. Sometimes it just needs the right invitation. And there are definitely some ways that we can invite our system back online with little things that tell our body, like, hey, you're safe now and it's okay to soften. Some of my favorite things, and by the way, these are all free, so there's no excuse for not doing them. If you're like, well, it might be free, but I don't have the time. Well, you should probably make the time because this is very important to your health and your well-being and your longevity and your stress levels. All right, so the parasympathetic nervous system is the part that is responsible for rest, digestion, and cellular regeneration. When you're in this state, your body is not fighting or fleeing. Instead, it is actually healing and rebuilding and integrating. And this is where your digestion improves and your hormones stabilize and your immune system strengthens and your thoughts become more clear. This is the state that we're meant to live in most of the time, not just touch occasionally before returning into survival mode. And one of the most important things about the parasympathetic nervous system, to get a little bit technical again, is the vagus nerve. This is the largest cranial nerve in the body, and it's like a bridge between your body and your brain. And when you hum or chant or sing, you send vibration through the vagus nerve, which actually signals to the body that you are safe. This is why singing in your car feels so cathartic, why babies calm when we hum to them, why you even feel more grounded after using your voice. It's not just emotional, but it's also physiological. And breathing is my second favorite thing. Understanding the importance of breath, because when your breath is shallow, and the studies have shown that humans breathe with, I think it's 10% of our lung capacity, which is crazy, but look it up, it's true. And when your breath is shallow, your nervous system senses danger. And when it's slow and deep, your body actually returns to a state of calm. So one of my favorite breathing techniques is the 4-7-8 method. You inhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 7, and slowly exhale for 8. And this one single-handedly put me to sleep for a few years of my life. My mind was so overactivated. Like, even though I was exhausted and getting in bed, I still couldn't shut my mind off because I was literally so dysregulated all the time. I didn't know it at the time. Looking back, I'm like, oh, that's a telltale sign. And I would put myself to sleep with 4-7-8. Literally, I would fall asleep doing it over and over and over and over again. Cold therapy is also one of my personal favorites. Cold water can act as a nervous system reset, or cold peas, like on the back of your neck or on your chest. Doesn't have to be peas, just something frozen from the fridge. A splash of cold water on your face, a quick shower, even putting your hands into cold water or just running water can bring you back into the present moment and increase vagal tone for your vagus nerve. And it's not about comfort. It's because cold showers aren't really comfortable. It's about resetting the signal in your body. Okay. The last two, I would say, that are the most important for me personally, that I hope will resonate with you too. The first one is movement. Your lymphatic system does not have a pump like your heart does, so it relies on movement. And we live in such a sedentary culture that light cardio, walking, dancing, even 20 jumping jacks are my favorite, can shift your state and move the energy. And it's like opening the windows of your system and letting fresh air in. If you are in a place of dysregulation and you can gather the strength within yourself to do some jumping jacks and take a cold shower, you're going to feel different. Truly. I mean, of course, there's always circumstances that you're going to need more support than just that. But truly, on a day-to-day basis, these things can be so helpful, and they're so easily overlooked. Oftentimes, we're dysregulated, we just get on our phone and start scrolling, right? Or we jump into the next thing and keep ourselves busy. And that's why grounding in nature can be so beneficial, especially with bare feet in the grass or soil or sand. It reconnects you to the frequency of the earth. And it's not just a woo thing, okay? It is actually electric. You are electric. The earth is electric. The earth carries a negative ionic charge that neutralizes free radicals in the body and calms inflammation. And time spent outside can be incredibly helpful for also reminding you of your connection to everything, that the world is still here, that the natural world, the plants, the trees, the animals, they're all on their own timelines. I have been dysregulated and gone outside and just sat in the grass and watched birds and felt my body return to a state of calm in a way that made me even feel like I was in a good mood compared to how it was just earlier before I came out. And I'm like, oh wow, there is a lot of power to this. I just want to end this on checking in with your basic needs. Sometimes regulating ourselves is not spiritual or fancy. It's a glass of water. It's brushing your teeth. It's texting your friend back. It's cleaning your space. That is a huge one for me. If I'm starting to feel dysregulated, I start to notice everything wrong in my house. I'm like, oh my God, the floors are dirty. And then there's dishes in the sink and the bed's not made. I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's check in. Have I eaten today? Am I hydrated? Have I had fresh air or sun today? I'm really just a plant. This is where we're at. Have I moved my body? Have I had connection with anyone? Like, have I reached out to anybody today? Have I made eye contact with someone? Sometimes these simple things can create such a solid foundation for nervous system health. And creating a life of rituals, we've talked about this in the previous episode, rituals tell the body that this moment matters. We are here, we are present, we are safe. Make your tea slowly. Light a candle before you eat dinner. I don't know. Play some soft music when you shower. Thank your body out loud when you get out of the ocean or when you get out of your car or just, I don't know, when you create these small anchors of safety in your life, the more often our nervous system can return to this state of resting and digesting. And you are allowed to live a life where your body feels safe to stay. You don't have to earn peace through exhaustion anymore. You don't have to hustle your way into healing. You can begin gently, and you can begin now. You can begin today or tomorrow. Why put it off? Why wait for another day when you know that this could be possible for you now? And I will say, having lived in a state of dysregulation for a long time, there is something to be said for the time that it takes you to start feeling normal in the parasympathetic state. There are times when, I don't know, maybe a friend would text me something and I would just feel so dysregulated, even for like a week or more. I would be constantly thinking about it, hyper-fixating on it, wondering what would happen and how it would go and and just the anxiety overtaking my world, right? Affecting my appetite, affecting my bowels, affecting my sleep habits. Like all my whole body was like hinged on this situation, right? And now I still feel that way sometimes when something goes weird with a friend or a work thing or something in my world. It's not what I thought and it makes me feel off, right? That's okay. That's not like, oh, I'm in this peaceful life now and I never feel dysregulated. I absolutely do. But what has changed is that it takes me way less time to turn on my parasympathetic nervous system again. Now, instead of many days, it might take me a few hours. Might even take me 30 minutes. Maybe I just need to talk it through. Maybe I need to take a cold shower, eat a little bit, walk outside, get some fresh air, get some sunlight, and the whole thing feels a lot better. And it's different for everyone. But with practice and with being gentle and slow and loving and deliberate and compassionate with yourself, you will absolutely see a difference in how your body feels, how she moves, how he connects with this world. And I'm excited for you. If this is new information, if this is old information, if this is just something you need to be reminded of, or maybe you can send it to a friend. There's a lot of talk about the nervous system right now, and I'm so glad for that because it's something that we need to be aware of in this fast-paced world. To be reminded that peace is our birthright. Pleasure, being calm, feeling regulated. It's not something you have to earn. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me today, for listening, for sharing this space. And if today's episode spoke to something in you, please feel free to share it with a friend who you think would also resonate, and or leave a review. It helps more than you know. I'll be back next Tuesday